So welcome back to Teacher Joe's classes. This is our second lesson in using Microsoft Word. The previous lesson we learned about using the commands that are available in the Home tab, and we did the formattings, the bold, the italics, the underline, the format painter, and the alignments, left, right, center alignment. In our today's lesson, we are going to learn about page layouts, because sometimes you want to develop a document that has maybe 2 columns. You don't know how to do it, or 3 columns in the middle of a continuous passage. We are going to learn how that is done, and we are going to practice it. We are also going to learn about changing the orientation from portrait to landscape. Sometimes you have a document that is in portrait, but in one page there is a large table that requires to be in landscape format. How do you set that page only to be in landscape and the other pages to continue being in portrait? That we shall do. And we shall also learn about inserting page breaks. Page breaks, in simple terms, they are points at which a page ends and another page begins, or one section ends and another section begins. Page breaks are so important in word processing, because when you are developing a document in the APA format and the front matter you want to assign different page numbers, say for example you want to give them Roman numbers, and then the others you want to give them a different page numbering format, then it can only be done when you have inserted page breaks correctly. Good. That's where we are. Let's start. And as we did in the previous lesson, we are going to use the Microsoft inbuilt feature. We are going to do a random. This time I'm going to create 15 paragraphs, and each of those 15 paragraphs, each of them would have 6 lines of text. I have typed is equals to rand 15, 6 into the brackets, and then I press enter, and there we are. We have enough text for us to enjoy our lesson with. So sit back, relax, get your computer ready, and let us do this together. So we start with the columns, and this text is enough to create columns. If you want to create columns in Microsoft Word, one of the first things you need to do is to select the text that you want to appear in the columns. So I have selected 2 paragraphs, and then I come to the page layout tab, and then I select columns. If I click the down arrow, it gives me the options of 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, left and right. So I can choose 2 columns, and the text that I had selected is now put into 2 columns. I can still go back to home and justify that, so that the edges are smooth. The edges here are smooth when they are justified, and like when they are not justified, or when they are left aligned. When it is center aligned, the effect is as seen on the screen, and when they are right aligned, again, that is what is seen. But for this lesson, I want them to be justified. So those are 2 columns. If they were to be 3 columns, I would still come back to page layout, columns option, then I choose 3. Then the text that I had already selected, which is highlighted in the gray shading, would now be in 3 columns that are evenly distributed. So that is how you put columns in a document. Sometimes you want to work in a document and you're not sure how to put a title. So I can add a title here at the beginning of this. So I click at the beginning of the first paragraph, and then I press enter. It creates a space above where I pressed enter, and then I can write Joe's video lessons, creating columns, like that. So to practice the skills we have learned the previous lesson, I can still select it, make it bold, I come back here to home, make it bold, change the type, maybe I choose a font called Accord SF, and then I want it to be bigger, then I center align it, and I want it to be in red color, so I choose red. So that is already done. So we have integrated the skills we learned yesterday in the previous lesson with what we are learning today. So far we have been able to create columns, and then the next thing is orientation. Before we do orientation, supposing that in this paragraph that I will highlight into the fuchsia color, right? I want that paragraph to be in its own page. I want this paragraph to be in its own page, and I want it to be in landscape orientation. So I will click at the beginning of that paragraph, then come to page layout, then I choose here for breaks, then I want it to be in the next page. So I select break, then I choose next page. So it goes to the next page, but it has carried the other paragraph. So I again click at the beginning of this paragraph, then I come to page layout, breaks, then I choose next page. So that goes to the next page. You can see here on the footer, it shows page 3 or 4 here, page 3 or 4, and initially we started with 2 pages only. So now we have more pages. Now my highlighted text is in its own page, and we want this page to be in the orientation called landscape. So we select, or you just click at where the text is, then you go to orientation. I don't want to use this because I want to do different additional settings. So I want the dialog box to appear, and for you to make the dialog box appear, you click this down arrow here for page setup, then you click it, it appears, then I choose the orientation to be landscape, and then here the apply to, it gives you different options, this point forward, whole document, and this section. So I'll choose this section and click OK. So what that does is my page 1 is portrait. My page 2, because I have told the computer to set that into landscape, this section, so it is in landscape, and then my page 3 is in portrait, so it continues. So that is a trick that many people don't know on how to have mixed orientations in a single document. You don't have to create multiple documents, to one in landscape and another in portrait. Word has inbuilt features for that. Now, when we are still at it, we can apply what is called the page numbering. And page numberings, they really work well. Assuming that we want all our pages to be numbered from 1 to 4. So you go back to the document, then you click insert here, then you come here to page numbers. You click the down arrow, you choose the positioning of the page number. I want mine to be on the bottom of the page at the center section. So I choose center section, or let's use the accent bar so that it can come with some text. Then we click close header and footer. We shall discuss headers and footers separately. So the first page, Joe's video lesson on creating columns, is page 1. Here, it's page 1. And then page 2, the one that we made landscape, is here, page 2. And the other page is labeled page 3, and the other is labeled page 4. Good. So we have covered the page layouts and why it's important that we know how to put the orientations and the breaks that we have used for that lesson. Now, when we are still at it, we have what we call headers and footers, and headers are texts or graphics that run on top of every page of a document, and footers are texts or images that run at the bottom of selected pages of a document. It could be all pages or selected pages. In other words, you can choose them to run on odd pages or even pages or all pages. If we wanted that all our documents to have a header called word is good, then we can come to insert menu, then you choose headers and footers, and it is here. You choose a header here, and then you come to edit header, right? Then it opens the header section, and now here I can write word processing is fun. It's fun, like that. Then I can select it, then go to home, make it italics, and reduce the font, and maybe put it into a color that is possibly blue. Or yeah, blue would work, like that. So we are still on headers and footers, so we can still go back to header and footer tools here on the design. So it is here. It gives you the other options of different first page, different odd pages. If you choose different odd pages, it will only appear differently in each of the odd and even pages. For now, we want it to appear in all of them, so we click close header, and then we see this is page 1, word processing is fun, is there. Page 2, word processing is fun, is there. Scroll. Page 3, you can see it there, word processing is fun, and page 4, word processing is fun. So we have put the headers and footers, and all that has also been made possible because of the page breaks and the page layout tab. So that is how you create columns, and that is how you can be able to put a document into landscape and portrait format, and how you can be able to insert headers and footers, and even mix different orientations, portrait and landscape, in the same document. So it's your time to try, open Word document, and practice what we have learned in this video. Thank you, and see you in the next